At what age? At what age is it too old to go on spring break? Like, at what age can you no longer take a week off in March to go to the beach? Because my whole life, I went grade school, middle school, high school. I just graduated from college. Spring break is this week, as far as I'm concerned. It starts on Friday. I'm not going to be here next week. It'll be the first time I'm taking off from this show since we started it from its conception in January, almost coming up on 2 months ago. So let me know in the live chat. Am I too old now that I'm out of college to take a spring break? Because I'm going to take a spring break, but I don't know at what age. My dad's not going on spring break. I don't think any of the guys I work with are going on spring break. But I'm still in college mode. I think I'm going to go on spring break this Monday. I'll be headed to the beach, so I will not be here next week. Yeah, we got a great show for you tonight. Welcome to Inside Texas Football, guys. This is On the Horn. I've got my water here today. Unfortunately, I'm drinking out of the I got the microplastics. Don't tell Joe Rogan I'm drinking out of a water bottle today. Usually I've got my Yeti. Left it downstairs, had to get the show rolling. If you don't know about microplastics, don't ever ask me about them at a bar if you run into me in Austin, Texas, because I will rant to you about microplastics for 30 minutes. And also don't talk to me about seed oils. If you know, you know. But we got big news. I don't think this man eats seed oils or drinks out of microplastic water bottles, guys. No, he definitely does. He's from West Virginia. He probably drinks straight up Mountain Dew. Big hire, big news today. I think you know who the man is. Mr. Neal Brown coming over to Austin, Texas. This was a bit of a big news story. I couldn't post it on the social medias until today, apparently. I don't know how I'm learning how this stuff works, guys, as I go. But apparently, like, you can't say it until it's made official, even though it was reported and kind of known. We had talked about this happening, but it happened. Neal Brown from West Virginia, formerly the head coach of the old country road, the Mountaineers, Mountain Dew country, baby. You think this microplastic water bottle is bad? Wait until you get your hands on some Moonshine Mountain Dew edition. Ooh, that'll give you diabetes. That'll give you the beaties. They'll take your toes if you drink too much Mountain Dew. But Neal Brown, man's from Danville, Kentucky. And for those who know, I'm a Kentucky fan. All my family's from Kentucky, so I'm a Kentucky boy. As my dad says, we're Kentucky bred but Texas born. So he's from Danville, Kentucky, which I've actually, got some family around that area. And he played at UK. How about that, right? We bring in Chad Scott. We bring in Neal Brown, a couple guys who played at Kentucky football. It doesn't mean much. It doesn't mean as much as playing Kentucky basketball, but Neal Brown played wide receiver at Kentucky, played at UMass as well. So he coached at Texas Tech, was the OC and quarterbacks coach there, which that's always a good sign, right? When you coach at Texas Tech, especially in that Mike Leach era. That was right before Mike Leach left for Washington State. He was coaching the quarterbacks, and he was the OC actually at Texas Tech with Mike Leach, God rest his soul, a legend in the game. Please put him in the Hall of Fame. God forbid. This NCAA can't get anything right, it seems. Can't even put Mike Leach in the Hall of Fame because of a technicality. But so he coached there, which is always good sign, right? Explosive offenses, good pass games coordinator. That's the thing also should mention about this news. We don't know what his position is yet. No clue what he'll be doing. We got some new settings on the system that we use here for our live streams, and now that I have to produce the show, I do not fully have control of this system down to a T yet, like Homer does and some of the other guys. But I'm learning. All right, so back off the technical difficulties to Neal Brown. So I think this is a big hire. He's supposed to be an analyst. It looks like is what the rumblings are. Unsure what his position will be, and this is kind of a Saban approach from Sark. Going and getting guys like, remember, Lane Kiffin fell off track a little bit. Sarkisian even was one of those guys, right? He fell off track a little bit. You go and get the most talented offensive minds, defensive minds, whatever it may be, who are a little bit undervalued because of whether it be a scandal or just, lackluster performance at a spot. It just didn't work out for him for whatever reason. Lane, it wasn't working out for him, right? He also just had a lot of personal problems and stuff like that, and was kind of a head case as a coach. Sark had some personal problems as well. He brought in Lane, then right after him, he brought in Sark, right? And so this was kind of a Saban approach. And Neal Brown's a great coach, guys. He got Troy, Louisiana program. If you don't respect Troy, you don't love college football. But that's Sunbelt team, Sunbelt Troy. And he won their first 10-game season at Troy. He got them ranked at Troy. He had them competing with LSU in some games. So he was a good coach at Troy. That's what led to him getting the West Virginia job. He's a 72-51 head coaching record. That's solid. 5-1 in bowl games. Not an elite coach. There's a reason. Maybe some guys aren't cut out to be a head coach. I saw some people commenting on this, going, "Oh, well, Neal Brown, he got fired from West Virginia. Why do we want him?" It's like, well, he's going to come be an offensive analyst, guys. Does it not help to have a great offensive mind who used to coach the air raid, who used to play in the air raid? People, real ones know Kentucky started the air raid. If you don't know that, you don't love college football. But Kentucky actually started the air raid. Mike Leach back in the day with Matt Mumme and Mr. Tim Couch, one of the biggest busts of all time, a Kentucky quarterback. And now Will Levis is looking like he's following suit. But that's another topic for another day. Back to Texas football, a football program that actually has something to look forward to. But Neal Brown knows the air raid offense. He would make a good pass games coordinator. He'd make a good, even a quarterback coach, depending on what happens, right? Where this shakes out. Will he be here for longer than 2 years? Who knows? If that's the thing with these analysts. You bring in an analyst like this. They brought in Sark as an analyst. Lane jumped ship. He went to FAU. Sark became the OC at Alabama. That's how this is very similar to what Saban would do. Is it just sets you up, you reload. Your staff, your players, everything's just set where it's just a machine. It's a factory, right? So if someone leaves, you could bump Neal Brown up to quarterbacks coach. You could bump Neal Brown up to OC, if Sark decides to relinquish play calling duties. Who knows? I doubt that'll happen, but I'm just spitballing here, right? There's just a lot you can do with a guy like Neal Brown, or he'll jump and go, when he can get an OC job at more of a mid-tier program and then work his way back up to being a head coach if that's the goal for him. But yeah, 5-1 in bowls. He won Sun Belt Coach of the Year at Troy, guys, in 2017. And at West Virginia, he was 2-1 in bowl games. He went 9-4 in 2023. I mean, that's how fast you can be out in college football. He went 9-4, then 6-6 this year. He's gone. But 9-4 last year in 2023, that was one of his best years at West Virginia. That was his best year at West Virginia. They went 9-4. That was a good season for them. But the thing I'm looking at is what could he do with Arch Manning? What ideas might he have with Arch Manning? How does the Neal Brown hire affect Arch Manning? If you know Garrett Green, we played against them. Like West Virginia, that was a Big 12 opponent for several years there. The conference realignment, guys, has really been weirder than you realize. Like the fact that West Virginia was even in the Big 12. When I think about that, I realize, oh yeah, this stuff has always been a little wonked out, and then it really went off the cliff with like USC and UCLA and all that Big 10, and then ACC getting Stanford and that. But West Virginia being in Big 12, as weird as that was, like for 10 years, Texas played West Virginia. Explain that to a Texas fan from the 90s, they would think that was weird. So there's realignment stuff. It's always been bad. And then we right the ship and you still love the game, right? It's not all bad. But yeah, so at West Virginia, they had Garrett Green, number 6, kind of a scrappier, a junkyard Baker Mayfield. I thought of him as a blonde Don, bully ball, just an absolute meatball of razor blades just running towards you. He was a gritty, like QB power kind of guy. Little 5'11", like 220 type of quarterback. So Garrett Green in 2023, when he had his best year and Neal Brown had his best year at West Virginia, the way he utilizes the quarterback run is something that could be interesting with Arch, because Arch was just like a Tebow in 2006 type of quarterback where he came in for only Wildcat. Very comparable to someone like Tebow. Garrett Green basically played like that for a whole season. So Garrett Green's stats, something to look at how he utilizes quarterbacks. Let's say Neal Brown actually gets to run, some plays or gets to actually have an effect on the offensive scheming. We'll see how much of an impact he has, honestly, in the coming months. The summer, you'll kind of know his role and how much he's actually doing. But I think he could have some ideas with Arch design plays and whatnot. But Garrett Green, right, the quarterback at West Virginia for the past few years, he had 2,400 passing yards, 16 TDs, 4 INTs. So 2,400 passing yards, 16 TDs passing is nothing to write home about, but he had 13 TDs rushing and 700 yards rushing. Heavy on the QB run. So that's total. It's 29 touchdowns, 3,100 total yards. The thing is Arch is a way better arm than Garrett Green. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. No offense to our friends in the Appalachians. But Garrett Green, like, was obviously not as talented as Arch Manning. He's not as big, doesn't have an arm like Arch Manning, not as accurate or precision passer. He's a total college quarterback. If you look up Garrett Green, I mean, he's like I said, junkyard Baker Mayfield. He was fun to watch when they were good, but I could see Arch Manning, putting up 500 plus rushing yards, and Neal Brown would know how to utilize someone like that. Neal Brown could have some new ideas in the room, talking to Sark, even bouncing stuff off him, bringing his playbook with him, that you could see some new sort of looks that might be more interesting or beneficial to Arch Manning, that might give a more favorable look for his run game as a quarterback. So it is just something that I think is interesting if you look at how he used Garrett Green. And also you had Chad Scott's, right? So Chad Scott was his running backs coach at West Virginia. So those guys, like, it's clear Sark wants to put a heavy emphasis on improving the run game and improving the red zone, because these two guys, I mean, Chad Scott was a great running backs coach at West Virginia. Neal Brown, for better or worse, it was ebbs and flows, but he was an overall solid coach for West Virginia standards, I would say. 9 in 4 years, pretty good. But I believe that Sark is going heavy on the run game, heavy on improving the red zone, and looking at guys like Neal Brown on how to utilize quarterback run better. That's why a lot of people think the red zone will be better this year. Is Arch Manning provides a different dynamic, right? Well, Quinn's a statue in the pocket, especially when his ankle's hurt. God bless his soul. We love Quinn, love his heart, love his grit, leadership, all that. But he's just not as mobile, right? He can't throw on the run like that. He's just not built for the red zone. Arch Manning, right? And then you got Chad Scott. You got C.J. Baxter coming back. Chad Scott had a really good rushing attack at West Virginia, and Neal Brown was responsible for that quarterback run game being so good. So, I mean, these are a duo of great hires that I think could come in, bring some new ideas, and probably, some new plays, some new looks that Texas hasn't been utilizing, and might be part of the reason why they've struggled in the red zone. Now you're going to have great running backs back. I just think this offense is going to look completely different with staffing, player personnel, and then you talk about different plays. I don't think you got to worry about red zone troubles coming into this year like you had to in 23 and in 24. So Neal Brown, all in all, great hire. Love to see a boy from Kentucky. Danville, my parents know that area well, but I think this is a great hire. This is Sark following the Saban program even more to a T, and just bringing in smart minds, bringing in guys who, are trying to get back on their feet. And it's a help me, help you kind of situation. I scratch my back, you scratch. Wait. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Whatever. All right. Anyways, Sark's doing some remodeling with these new hires, having to bounce back from, getting his coaches poached by NFL, other major programs. He's remodeling, guys. And if you need to remodel, you got to call Luxe Kitchen and Bath. And if you don't believe me, listen to the beautiful voice of LC as he tells you what you need to do.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's Luxe. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
All right, guys. Thank you, LC. Next, I want to talk about QB power rankings. Another great graphic from our friends at On3. But this actually, guys, if you're mad at anything on this list, which I think you all might be happy with the fact that Arch Manning is number one. This list is not from On3. This is actually from the boys over at CBS. Wouldn't call them friends of the program. Not yet. Maybe one day, guys. But let's just take a look at this power rankings list. I'll just start from 10 down and then kind of tell you what I think, because obviously what's going to jump off the page to everyone is Arch Manning being ranked number 1. And I'll say about the hype train people, the people who hate on Arch Manning, who hate on, just all the hype around him, the media talk about Arch Manning, Texas, and therefore by proxy, hating on Arch Manning, hate on Texas, of course. To those people, I'd say, hey, this is the first list that I've seen where Arch Manning is actually number 1 on a list. I have not seen him on anybody's number 1 quarterback list anywhere. I've yet to see that. This is the first one I've seen graphic wise. Correct me if I'm wrong, let me know in the chat. But this is the first time that I've seen Arch Manning ranked number 1 on any sort of quarterback list. So to just start, I mean, DJ Lagway at 10, respect that he's at 10, because I've seen some people put him ahead of Arch Manning, and his stats, 12 TDs, 9 INTs. We wish him well, but 1,900 passing yards, 60% completion percentage. He played a lot more games than Arch Manning. He should be down at 10. I actually don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, but I've fully been on the anti-DJ Lagway train for months now. That's noted if you follow the show, which God only knows how many of you are actually following the show episode to episode. But if you do, I think Lagway is totally overhyped. At number 9, Rocco Becht from Iowa State. Hey, we all remember Iowa State. That was a fierce conference foe of ours. Rocco Becht, 60% passer, 3,500 yards, 25-9. He's a really good player. Obviously, the Brock Purdy comparisons come with him. Someone I know a lot about is Mr. Sawyer Robertson, because if you don't know, while I'm a Kentucky fan, it sounds like I'm a T-shirt fan. I grew up a Kentucky fan, right? Because all my family's from Kentucky. Both my parents went there, but I actually went to Baylor right down the road. I went to Baylor. I don't think you guys have any beef with Baylor because, well, they're in the Big 12 and they're of no real threat in recent history. But Sawyer Robertson, he's really good. I think he's a very underrated player. He was 7th in the country in QBR, 83 QBR. I think he should be higher on this list, but I'll get to that. He threw 28-8, 3,000 yards. At number 7, Lawrence Sellers, a lot of hype around him. 66% passer, 2,500 yards. He really came on down the end of the year. A lot of people have Heisman hype around him. When is Texas going to play South Carolina? I'd love to see that. Hey, in college women's basketball, it's a big rivalry coming now in the SEC. But I would like to see play Lawrence Sellers. That would be fun. Texas having to go to Bryce Williams Stadium in South Carolina, in Columbia, South Carolina. That would be a sight to behold. But Sellers, I think he's all right on this list. A lot of it is obviously projection. We see Arch Manning at 1. At number 6, Nussmeier, 64% passer, 4,000 passing yards, 29-12. His stats were very similar to Carson Beck's. Now, Nussmeier on a lot of people's Heisman odds has been the one guy ahead of Arch Manning. I don't like that at all. I don't buy it at all because Arch Manning can run. Nussmeier, not a mobile threat at all. I also think he's more turnover prone than Arch. And Arch is a gunslinger himself, but Nussmeier really likes to sling that thing around, and he makes some questionable passes at times. And then ahead of him is Sam Levitt. And we can't badmouth Sam Levitt, guys. You all watched the Peach Bowl. He backed up his talk. I mean, maybe he played better than Quinn Ewers. That's, up to the fans to decide that one. But Levitt, we saw him running all over the field against Texas, looking like a mini Manziel. And yeah, he could really throw on the run. He was escaping from Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons, all those guys. He looked really good against Texas, and he had some great stats. I mean, he put up like 3,600 total yards, like 30 total TDs, 6 INTs. And then at number 4, I think Drew Allar is kind of overrated personally. I think he's kind of a worse version of Quinn Ewers. 66% passer, 24-8, 3,300 yards. This is the only year that Drew Allar has been over 60%. He also, I think, benefited very much from Andy Koldenicki's offense, the old Kansas offensive coordinator. But in comparison to some of the guys that are behind him, I think he's just got a lot more of a talented roster than, say, Sam Levitt does. And then up next, Carson Beck. We love him because he threw us a bunch of picks. But I actually think Carson Beck is getting some unfair hate based on his year because Georgia led the country in drops. Miami's got some talented receivers, some good tight ends transfer coming in. And Beck threw 24 and 6 and 3,900 yards in 2023 when he was healthy. He was hurt this year. He's beat up on. His receivers dropped everything. And he completed 72% of his passes in 2023. In 2024, he threw 28 and 12, 65%, 3,500 yards. They've actually got him pretty fairly rated. Like, people are going to forget how good he was. Kind of nuts, like, looking back on it now that he's not a part of this draft class. Very good favor for guys like Quinn Ewers, that this draft class is very weak, and guys like Carson Beck decided to stay, which is good. And Nussmeier, for that matter. And then next, we got Cade Klubnik. Yeah, I just listened to him speak. That's why we did the show early on Tuesday. I got to listen to Cade Klubnik and Dabo Sweeney speak Tuesday night at my church, which was really cool. Cade's Westlake legend, fellow Westlake alum, such as yours truly here, same as yours truly. And Dabo and him were cool listening to speak. Dabo, whether you guys like him or not, it's really cool listening to Dabo speak. He had a great message, as you would expect, getting everybody fired up. And Dabo's just got dad, he's got dad swag. He's goofy, but you feel like it's genuine. You don't cringe as much as it. You more smile when Dabo says something funny. He pointed at the kid with a flat top hat. So this is at church, mind you, and he goes, "You got swag?" And the kid was like, "Yeah, I got swag." And then Dad was like, "I got swag." He's like, I'm saved with amazing grace." And I was like, only Dabo would say that. Dabo is funny dude. You gotta love him. Whether he maybe the game's passed him by a little bit, but he's got his integrity. He's a good man. Good dinning. Klubnik was out there. It was fun. They gave a lot of praise to Sark and Quinn and all those guys. Made some jokes about coming back to Austin for the first time since we whooped on him here in Austin. But Klubnik, he put up 40 total touchdowns, 63% passing. He's a lot of people's Heisman favorite. Klubnik would love to see him take the next step. I mean, just like seeing a Westlake kid do well. And then finally, the man of the hour. Everybody loves talking about him. How many times can I say his name in an episode for the algorithm? Arch Manning, Arch Manning, Arch Manning. He only put up 9 TDs and 2 INTs, as we know, right? 68% passing. That's the thing, though, is in this minimal action, he showed a lot more flashes than I think a lot of these guys have. For example, DJ Lagway, these younger guys. I mean, when you watched Arch, he showed an ability to throw on the run. He showed his capability to throw the deep ball. He showed, how mobile he is out in space, that he could be a serious threat as a runner. And he progressed throughout the season to show that he really can be a run-first quarterback if he needs to be. So, I mean, Arch... Now, I think a lot of this is projection, obviously, because he's only thrown 9 TDs. He ran for, 3 TDs, something like that. Arch put up probably, 12 or 13 TDs on the year, had over 1,000 total yards. But a lot of this is based on projection. On projection, guys, I mean, first of all, I want to look at this and just say how Arch is head and shoulders above, and not the shampoo Head and Shoulders. I don't believe in Head and Shoulders shampoo. I'm just going to say that here. First things first, I do not believe in shampoo. You might say that's crazy, but look up no shampoo, the no poo movement, and I'll just say this. You never see a homeless guy without hair, but every CEO does not have hair. So Head and Shoulders, I don't believe in it. Don't use it. Just cold water, scrub. That's probably what Arch Manning does. That's definitely what Quinn Ewers did when he had that mullet. And speaking of Head and Shoulders, though, I mean, why did Head and Shoulders not sponsor Quinn Ewers when he had that mullet? That's total missed opportunity on their part. This is why I should be an agent. I'm dressed like an agent. I could be like Ari Gold of Entourage. But if you haven't seen Entourage, turn off the show. Go watch Entourage. But Arch Manning, back to Head and Shoulders. Arch Manning is Head and Shoulders above the 2023 class. Who in the 2023 class holds a candle to Arch Manning? I mean, Nico Amavola. No one's going to say that name. Fake UT anyways. Fake Orange. But Nico, Waglay's 2024, you look around that class, Sam Levitt is turning into one of the better players from that class. Really, who is Dante Moore? A lot of those guys, fell out of favor where in the respected places. Arch Manning, from what you've seen in the 2023 class, I think is the Head and Shoulders, back to Head and Shoulders. They need to sponsor Arch Manning. He should grow a mullet. That would be gnarly if Arch grew a mullet. That would be such, just pure Manning bliss right there. Perfect engagement and content if he grew a mullet. Got a Head and Shoulders sponsorship like Paul Malo. I keep saying Head and Shoulders, but he's Head and Shoulders above. I can't think of a different way to say that. I just think he's better than everyone else in his class. But he could be better than everyone in the country. Will he be? I don't think so this year. The next year, yes. His second year starting, I believe so. And we know he's probably going to come back for that second year starting because Archie Manning, the patriarch of that family, it's like an old traditional royal family at this point. He said he wants him to play at least 25 games. They've all said that's kind of their quarterback theory, that you play at least 25 games in college before you can be a successful NFL quarterback, that it doesn't really work if you play less than 25 games. But I mean, Arch, he very well could be the best quarterback in the country. I don't know if it'll happen overnight. I see him kind of putting up somewhere in the 20s touchdown wise. I think this offense will be more run heavy than we maybe expect. And I think the run will be more effective in 2025 as well, where you won't see, spam button passes like we kind of saw with Quinn down the stretch, where some games he was throwing 40 plus passes, right? Because they just had to. They couldn't run the ball against Arizona State. They couldn't run the ball against Ohio State, Georgia twice, right? They just couldn't run the ball. I don't think that'll be a problem because also Arch brings that extra dynamic. But his stats, I believe, will mirror something like what I was just looking at with maybe like a Carson Beck, right? Or a Nussmeier plus add in 500 rushing yards. I believe Arch is going to throw some questionable passes at time. It's in that Manning DNA. Go look at Peyton's, college stats and highlights for that matter, and his rookie season. And Arch, when he first came in this year, he wants to sling it. He's going to take some shots. It's going to be high risk, high reward. There's going to be a lot of big plays from this offense. The big play factor is definitely going to be a part of the 2025 Texas Longhorns. It'll be fun to watch for sure. But I would bet, and I don't bet because I'm in Texas, but I would bet that he throws double-digit interceptions. Not that that's a bad thing. I would see him throwing like 26 touchdowns, 10 picks, and then, and then runs for like 500, 6 TDs, something like that. Puts up like 30 touchdowns total. Depends also how far they go in the playoff. But I don't know. I would lean towards one of these more veteran guys, like a Klubnik, Carson Beck maybe having a resurgence, Drew R. I don't think he's taking the next step. But Levitt, just because he started for a little while now, Nussmeier, someone like that, I think will take that step where you say, this guy's the best quarterback in the country. This year, who did we say it for, though? Cam Ward? That's the thing, is it feels like, I don't know if that's just me, it feels like it's been a few years since you said, like, this guy is, I keep saying Head and Shoulders. I don't use Head and Shoulders. Again, natural water, baby. That's how you get those natural oils and get that nice flow going. But I think that it's been a few years since we've seen like a guy you go, oh yeah, he's head and shoulders ahead of the entire country, right? Jaden Daniels, I guess. But it's kind of been like, oh, this guy's really good. This guy's really good. Like Cam Ward or Shedeur, who really knows? Like this year, who were the best quarterbacks in the country? That's why this list is up for anyone's grabs. I do like Arch Manning's chances. It also depends on how good this receiving core ends up being with new guys coming in and whatnot. But yeah, that was CBS Sports' top 10 quarterback rankings. Take DJ Lagway off the list. Add Fernando Mendoza from Indiana now, the Cal Berkeley transfer. He put up great stats. Coach Sig, you saw what he did with Curtis Rourke. But other than the list, I mean, just some rearranging. Arch Manning at 1. I hate to be that Debbie Downer, guys. Maybe I'm pessimistic. I don't think he's the best quarterback in the country yet. But, hey, that's why we speculate. That's what you do in the middle of March when football is not for 6 months. All right. So next, guys, I am going to get into your fan predictions, some bold predictions from you guys. I like doing this, and then we will rate them. And you all feel free to call in with fan predictions if you've got one live that you want to give about Texas football or just football in general or Texas sports in general. I know we don't really talk about basketball because nobody seems to care about Texas basketball. But if you've got any sort of predictions or bold predictions, feel free to call in. We're going to look at a few here that I plucked from the social media. But if you want to comment in the live chat your bold predictions, go right ahead, guys. Would love to either debunk any takes you have or tell you that you're right. All right, so first one, guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring up a take from Silvio Dante. So back on the Arch Manning theme. Arch Manning makes it to New York, but loses to Raiola. For those who don't know, Dylan Raiola plays at our old rival, Nebraska, the Big Red, the ones who ruined the spring game. They canceled the spring game first. They started this trend. Hold on. Water sip. I can taste the microplastics. But Raiola is the quarterback at Nebraska. He's also 2024. He's 2024, not 2023. But Raiola threw like 12-9 this year. He was all right as a first-year starter. So this one, I'm just going to go right out and say it, Silvio. And this is not anti-Italian discrimination here. I mean, I'm an Italian-American myself, Silvio. By Italian, I say 1/8 Italian, but I love The Sopranos. My grandmother was Italian, pretty much. I think this is a little bit of Italian favoritism from Silvio Dante. And Silvio Dante's a legend. If you haven't watched The Sopranos, he's a great character. But Silvio, I think you might be just picking him because he's Italian, it seems, with the hand motion there. Dylan Raiola, he had an all right season as a true freshman starter. He's not winning the Heisman, guys. I mean, Nebraska would have to take a huge step. And this also includes Arch Manning making it to the Heisman and Raiola making it to the Heisman. Arch Manning's more likely of those two. This one gets a 9.5 because I think I'm not going to give any outright 10s because anything can happen, especially in college sports. That's why we love it. But Raiola and Nebraska would have to take a major step. And also, they got Dana Holgorsen now coaching, so maybe they'll sling it around the yard a little more. But I do not foresee Nebraska being good enough to have a Heisman quarterback, nor do I think Raiola will be good enough. This gets a 9.5. This is very, very bold from Silvio Dante. I don't think that's the real Silvio Dante. If you know, you know. 5 TDs for Christian Clark. I don't think this is that bold. He was injured, and like the running back room now, you're going to have right, like a lot of open, yards to be had with Jaden Blue gone, right? A lot of all-purpose yards could be there. And Christian Clark was a 4-star recruit. Like, this is a good kid, good player. Expectations are pretty high on him. Pretty, fairly reasonable on Christian Clark. There's more expectations on guys like CJ Baxter, obviously coming into the year. Guys like Trey Wisner now that he's established. Christian Clark kind of flew under the radar this year. You didn't really talk about him, but that running back room was so beat up, you kind of forgot about him. But Christian Clark putting up 5 TDs. I give this a 7 only because of this reason. The running back room is going to be cluttered, guys. Like CJ Baxter is going to be your primary, running back one. And then you're going to probably have Trey Wisner, maybe Jarrett Gibson, because Jarrett Gibson got a lot of run and then for whatever reason fell out of favor with the coaching staff. Didn't get as much run down the stretch there. But, I just think it's going to be, we'll see where he fits in. Maybe he walks in, he's better than Wisner. We really won't know until camp starts in the fall when we start to get out there more. Now there's no spring game. But this is good pool. Appreciate you mentioning Christian Clark. Not enough people are talking about him, to be honest, anymore. But it seems like he's kind of flying under the radar. Christian Clark, 5 TDs. I give that a 7. That's fairly bold just because I don't know if there will be enough love to go around for everyone. And I would expect Baxter to get double-digit TDs than like someone like Trey Wisner or, say, Jarrett Gibson getting, 7, 6, 5. I think he will score a couple times, though. But 5, I think, is a little high for his first year coming off injury. And with how, clogged that room is going to be, it's going to be so talented. All right. Up next, our next bold prediction is... Oh, man, I think I missed one when I was loading up the graphics. All right, well, we got 4 of them. To look at. Young Tran, possible rapper here, the way he spells young. Texas will score a few times on 1st and goals with Arch in the lineup. This is what I was just talking about with Neal Brown coming in and Chad Scott, is that the red zone efficiency will probably be significantly better, like night and day from 23 and 24. Their ability to incorporate the quarterback run, the run game, like being a run game coordinator, like Chad Scott has been in the past, and just having good success wherever he's been as a running backs coach, I think will be good for the red zone. My dad just texted me and said too much head and shoulders. I mean, I can't think. I guess thanks for watching the show, Dad, but I can't think of another way to say a player is better than another player. He's just better than him, I guess. Head and shoulders above the competition. How else do you say it? Maybe their marketing's getting to me, but I just keep saying head and shoulders. Anyways, let's see. So back to what we were talking about. Arch Manning, right? He will be great for the red zone offense, and also factoring in CJ Baxter being back, Jarek Gibson in his second year. He's a big dude. I think this is a 3. This isn't very bold at all. This will be the case. They will score a few times on first and goals. We know first and goal has been very deadly for the Longhorns. Been very deadly. It's been toxic for Texas these past couple of years, especially this year against a certain team in a certain NFL stadium in January on a certain day in January where the goal line was not favorable to Texas. But this is a 3. I believe you're going to see a totally new team in the red zone. Arch Manning is going to provide such a different dynamic. CJ Baxter being back and the coaching changes, the additions of a new running back coach. Neal Brown, we'll see what he's doing as an analyst. But I just think there's been so much focus on this, so much, negative talk about it. And it's now just going to be such a point of emphasis for Steve Sarkisian that they will right the ship. It's almost become the new secondary, right? In 2023 to 2024, it was that secondary is terrible. Gideon's got to go, right? And then the secondary flip the switch, right? I believe that red zone offense will at the very least be average, which would make this team so much better. If the Texas offense was average in the red zone the past couple of years, they would have a national championship game appearance, maybe even a ring. So we'll see, but I think this is a 3, not that bold. I believe they will be much better in the red zone. And then our final bold prediction comes from Fat Eric Davis. Shout out Eric Davis. Hope you get on some Ozempic, buddy. But he's predicting a Texas natty in football, I assume. An Arch Manning Heisman. Texas rehiring Shaka Smart, which if you remember, they got rid of Shaka Smart. Texas basketball, there's a reason we don't talk about it, guys. They have had the worst luck. They fire Rick Barnes. He goes to the other UT. He's getting them to Elite Eights. He's getting them 2 seeds, 1 seeds. He's got them in the tournament every year, being a super competitive team in the SEC. And Shaka Smart leaves. He goes to Marquette. He's getting a 2 seed a couple times there. He's getting to the Sweet 16. It's been bad luck for the Texas basketball team past few years with all that's gone on. And with, you never want to see your exes doing better than you. And that has happened twice with Rick Barnes and Shaka Smart. But them rehiring Shaka Smart, slim to none chance, buddy. Snowball's chance in hell for sure, Fat Eric Davis. And a natty in women's basketball. That natty in women's basketball might be more likely than the natty in football in 2025. So I put out the tweet, bold predictions for 2025. I don't think Texas is winning the natty in 2025. Maybe I'm a pessimist. Arch Heisman, again, I don't think that's going to happen in 2025. Rehiring Shaka, I don't think that'll happen in 21-25. It's never going to happen. Who knows who they'll hire? If RT's out, we don't want to prey on a man's job. We'll see what happens. OU this weekend for the bubble. What will happen with Texas basketball? Ooh, I know we all care. The natty in women's basketball, they're getting a 1 seed in women's basketball. So that is very possible. All in all, call me a pessimist, a hater. I think at best one of these things happens in 2025. Don't bet a parlay on this. The odds would be 100,000 to 1, but you would win a boatload of money. So that's why we play the game, right, fellas? No, I'm not encouraging gambling. Never do that. But yeah, this take here, super bold from Fat Eric Davis. But hey, that's why Vegas always comes out on the plus side, baby. And yeah, that is our last bold prediction. If you've got any bold predictions, feel free to comment them, call into the show. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next and final topic, Mr. Jahdae Barron. And then, yeah, we'll open up the phone lines, guys. If you want to call and talk ball with me, whatever you want to say, feel free. Don't have a ton. It's March. trying to talk football. It's March and we don't have spring games anymore. I got to come up with stuff to talk about. But all right, let's get to Jahdae Barron, because this was a funny, memeable moment, what he did today to our ugly in-laws up north in Norman, Oklahoma. So Jahdae Barron, absolutely, he just trolled OU with the Thorpe Award, and walked up to strutted up to Oklahoma City to accept the Thorpe Award, and then showed off the award right out Gaylord, which is always been a funny name for a stadium. Gaylord Memorial Stadium, that's what they're called. They're called up there, and their stadium. And Jahdae went up there, dropped his Thorpe Award right up in front of their stadium, took a flick, posted it up on Instagram and Twitter too, said "Forever a Longhorn," which was pretty funny from Jahdae. And he's also had some fun messing with OU, like after beating them 34-3. We all remember last year, 2023, when Danny Stutzman smoked that cigar in the locker room, put the horns down. He even got horns down tatted on him. If that's not the most linebacker meathead thing to do, all the power to you, buddy. But yeah, if you remember, after beating OU this year, he posted on Instagram with a belt, said BTA, belt to ass. He said he really took the belt to OU. He made sure to let people know. He tagged Danny Stutzman, so he got him back for 2023. And then he also tagged OU athletic department. He hates OU. He does not like OU because if you forget, he grew up in Austin, going to Texas games. He got pictures of him on DKR Field back when he was just a little kid. So that's what like college football is all about. When people like think when these suits, it's ironic, but when these suits, walk into a boardroom in some high rise and say, all right, we're going to move USC over here so they can play Alabama every year or whatever realignment, right? We want the biggest brands playing all the time. This is what college football is about. Jahdae Barron going to Norman, Oklahoma, posting up with a Thorpe Award and saying, I won this and you didn't. Also, we beat y'all and you win 6-7. But we get the whole thing, right? 34-3, taking out the belt, giving it to the old Sooner, whatever the hell a Sooner is. That's what college football is about. Like kids from the area who grow up hating one team, loving another team, their dreams to play for that team. That was a really cool moment at Red River, and this was cool, like messing with them. And of course, they got all butthurt about it. We know OU's trending in one direction, Texas is trending in another direction. We're not just saying that because we're on a Texas football channel. We would never do such a thing. It's not biased. You can look at recruiting rankings and records. But yeah, so this was hilarious. Love it. This is what college football is all about, baby. Messing with your rivals. It's not enough to be good. You want your ops to be down as well. All right. And one more thing about Jahdae Barron is Michael Taff and him, of course, had a special bond. He mentioned something at the NFL Combine. And so this is why Jahdae is the man. Like he screwed with OU. Love that. Everybody likes crapping on OU. And then, the way he carries himself when he's not when he's not messing with people, how he is as an actual guy. Like he's a pretty down-to-earth guy. He had this quote where he said, Taff looks up to me, I look up to Taff. And that would explain, a lot of his demeanor and Taff's demeanor, the way they're both just cerebral leaders, like just great vocal guys in the secondary, and why, as the aforementioned horrible secondary of 2023 took such a jump. It's thanks to these two guys on your screen. So that was a nice moment for him to shout out Taff at the Combine. And then he went and balled out and had a great Combine, got himself bumped up the first round for sure. We already thought he was on, in the first round, but now it's a lock. And this type of stuff right here, the way he carries himself, how he articulates things, and, always is, humble, altruistic, and seems to be benevolent to his teammates and looking out for his teammates, and always shouting them out, never taking any of the credit, right? I mean, Jahdae just looks like a good leader. There's a reason he's a program guy, like I said, from the Austin area, 5-year guy, stayed in Texas, developed, and became the Thorpe Award winner. So, like, people see that arc. They see that arc and how dedicated he was to his craft. And Michael and him, they work out together. They're brothers. And like Taff getting the shout out there, that was huge from Jahdae. And I think they've both benefited from that that partnership for sure. Just being good buddies and whatnot and learning from each other. And then the last one about Jahdae, Jahdae praise it up, guys. We're not going to be able to talk about him as much in 2025 after the draft. There's a reason he's become a first-round pick, the way he carries himself, but also his play, right? And Kirk Herbstreit had this quote on the right side of the screen. He said, I think Jahdae is going to take the NFL by storm. He's got great intangibles, and he's a great leader. Notice the leader part. Like, he's got the great intangibles. He knows how to play the game. And then also the fact that he's a leader. Like, that is stuff that they do look at. They think that Jahdae Barron will be a great locker room guy. Why would you not draft him, right? Why would you not? It's kind of a no-brainer, I think, for most GMs. Is Jahdae Barron is he's just a great locker room guy, a great mental guy, and now a great physical guy when he goes and runs a 4.39, and you see that it's like, oh, he's not just a mentally aware player and a smart player. He's a really athletic player. And so, I mean, that just helped him like jump up the draft boards, and it also helps Texas. So, like, this all in all has been a great week for Texas. The combine was great for Texas. It makes UT look good. Like, when you go and think about how UT used to be considered like toxic, they weren't developing players, they're recruiting, and then those players aren't getting drafted. You go from that to like Jahdae Barron, who does everything right, stays, develops, gets better every year, and then goes and wins the Thorpe Award, right? So, I mean, that all in all was just symbolic of the culture of Texas. And Jahdae is the perfect guy to represent the University of Texas in this sort of resurgence that we have seen with Texas the past few years. So that was just a cool quote. Also funny that he messed with OU. But yeah, we love Jahdae obviously here. Gonna put away my notes. Only had one note today, guys. If you look on my desk here, it's literally looks like John Nash from A Beautiful Mind. All my show notes. That's what happens when you got to host and produce. You got to write all this crap down yourself and come up with all your notes. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead. If you guys want to comment, call in. I'm just gonna kind of have an open forum for the last few minutes of the show here. Yeah, if anybody wants to talk about quarterback rankings, anything I covered today, didn't bring on any callers up to this point. Neal Brown joining the staff, the quarterback rankings, Arch Manning being the projected number one quarterback, all that stuff. And, of course, Jahdae Barron messing with OU, taking that picture in front of the stadium with the Thorpe Award. We're going to go ahead and bring on our first caller here. I think a first-time caller. Don't recognize the name. We got Mr. Randall Stacy. Randall, how you doing today?
What's happening, James? Long time listener, first time caller. Love the show.
Appreciate that, man.
I don't have too much to say. I do really appreciate the open forum method. I will say I went to A&M, and I'm a big A&M guy, and yeah, but fucking I go to every.
Hey, let's try not to curse, Randall. Try not to curse.
Sorry, my bad. Sorry, that just slipped out. I'm very sorry. Didn't mean to do that. But I go to dive bars on Wednesdays, and this past Wednesday, man, I went to the Texas Chili Parlor Bar. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. And,
where's that?
It's been in a bunch of movies. Isn't that movie Death Proof that Quentin Tarantino?
I have not seen Death Proof. When did Quentin Tarantino make that? Like
2007, 2008-ish, man.
Dude, I have not seen that movie.
It's a good one, man. It's a lot of it was shot in Austin, and there's like it's mainly bar scenes, but one of the main bar scenes was shot at this bar, Texas Chili Parlor. I want to plug that place because I went there this past Wednesday, and it was so dope, man. Also, there's a song by Guy Clark called Dublin Blues. And the opening line is, I wish I was in Austin drinking a Mad Dog margarita. And that's like their like known drink or whatever. But it was a dope thing. And
wait, Randall, I gotta ask, you said you're an A&M guy. You got a love-hate relationship with Austin, or you love Austin?
I love Austin, man. I love Austin. Austin's the place to be.
You sound like McConaughey when you say that.
Well, I mean, I don't strive to be that man by any means, but it is the place to be.
Yeah.
And
What,
you know
what
what, James? Before I go, I have one thing to say.
what's
I
up?
know this is a Texas show, but I do have one thing to say about A&M. I did see that A&M is banning all transgender marches and parades on campus. Can we see this come to the 40 acres?
All right. Thanks for calling in, Randall.
All right.
Appreciate you. Oh, perfect timing. Right when Randall drops a political topic. We only talk sports here. You guys can form your own opinions on politics. My light goes off. As I've mentioned before, my light is hooked up to my little brother's old PlayStation 4 because that's how rink-a-dink of a setup I've got here in my little brother's room at my parents' house. And live, Gerald Hopkins is on the horn. He calls in almost every show, a certified regular. Gerald Hopkins, how you doing tonight?
Y'all probably should piggyback on what A&M's doing. I'll just throw that out there.
All right, Gerald. What do you got for us football related today?
What do you think about what's his nuts? Gideon leaving.
Gideon leaving?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. I don't think much about it. He's got a better job because he got promoted to a defensive coordinator. Obviously, that's good step for him. I mean, we like to see former Texas guys doing well and whatnot, and it looks good on Sark's staff if they go and succeed in other places, right? Like similar to Saban's kind of disciples and whatnot. But I think they'll be fine. They brought in the old DB coach from back in 2000s, if you saw that. So I mean, and they got Mark Orfe from Rutgers. They've got some solid guys in that room, and they're just going to be super loaded. I don't think it'll be as good as 2024 though, by any means. Just with so many people leaving.
Do you think Gideon made up for ruining Texas's natty chances?
Did he make up for it? If you want to blame 2023 on Blake Gideon, by all means. But yeah, in 2024, I mean, they're right there, right?
I mean, dude, Captain Hook could have caught that.
Oh, you're talking about when he was playing.
Yeah.
That's a classic. That's like probably the first Texas football game I remember. 2008 when he dropped the pick, and then the next play, Crabtree catches the game-winning touchdown, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. See, like I've said, I didn't grow up a Texas fan, so and like both, my parents didn't go to Texas, so I don't really know. Like, this is the closest I've gotten to the Texas fan base. I don't know what the older generation thinks of Blake Gideon, to be honest. I mean, I'd love for an older Texas fan to comment or call in if they still have beef with him about that. Huh?
I think he sucks.
Blake Gideon?
Yeah.
Hey, well, he's not on the Texas staff anymore, so
that's why I feel like I can say that now.
Who knows? What you got? Anything else?
I forgot who you had. You were doing a quarterback power ranking list.
Oh yeah, here I'll bring that back up for you if you got a thought on that. There you go. Feast your eyes on that, there, Gerald.
Oh, that's not yours.
That is not my list. That's from CBS
What I would have
Sports.
to say is Drew Aller sucks.
Yeah, you're angry tonight, Gerald. Sucks. You are mad tonight.
Dude, he does suck.
I think he's overrated. I don't think either of those guys suck.
I mean, what do you think happens if you could probably pull most of the dudes on this list and stick them on Penn State's team, and they would have done better than Aller.
Yeah, I mean, I probably agree with that. I think Sawyer Robertson's better than him. I think Nussmeier's better than him. I think he's just kind of he's been starting for 3 years, puts up pretty good stats, benefit of the doubt at a big program type of thing.
I mean, you start 3 years, it's like, I don't know. Do you think Texas will crack 2,000 rushing yards next year?
As a team?
Mm-hmm.
I believe so, yeah. This year, what did they crack? Like 1,700, probably, if I were off the top of my head.
That's probably a low number. I would just expect with all the receivers that are kind of, or the receiving production, I guess, because a lot of that did come from the running backs, that they're going to have to do something in the run game. The O-line's going to have to get better at run blocking, whoever the O-line may be.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it's a new O-line, and we've kind of been thinking there'll be a better run blocking group. So that is something that I think all signs point to them being better in the run game. It's just how good will they be?
because I think if Arch is really going to do as good as everyone wants him to do and thinks he'll do, again, it's his first year. Like, give him the grace of being able to, if he's struggling, be like, all right, dude, we're like, it's the fourth quarter. You've thrown a pick or two, been inaccurate all game. Lock it in. Like, having the reassurance of being like, okay, we can give it to Baxter. And then I don't really know, other than him, who else is kind of in the fold for Texas running ball wise.
CJ Baxter, Trey Wisner will be back, and then
Ooh.
Christian Clark, he was a 4-star. Jarrett Gibson, he was a 4-star. But CJ Baxter being back, he was the number one runner.
And it seems like Texas a little bit kind of how, obviously before Quinshawn left, it has been a big, and even before Quinshawn got there, Ole Miss has been a big running back by committee kind of team, getting 3-4 guys, get anywhere from 4 to 800 yards, get 4 of those dudes to do that. That works. I mean, I don't think Texas will need CJ Baxter to go for 1,200 yards and whatever, 8 to 12 touchdowns. Like, I mean, if you've got,
I think that would
Wisner's
be the
got
expectation
experience
now.
now. Yeah,
You
but
want
do you
to see
think they'll
Baxter
give him the
gets
ball that
1,200.
much?
I mean, probably about as much as Trey Wisner got it in 2024. Trey Wisner became the main back. He probably averaged about 20 carries a game down the stretch. I think
That'd be pretty
you
damn impressive if he could crack 1,200.
I think that CJ Baxter will get 1,200 yards because also, dude, you got to remember, Gerald, these guys are playing. These guys are playing what, 16 games now, 15 games. Okay, here. Thank you, sports dude, for this. They had 2,500 rushing yards last season. Yeah, so they will easily crack 2,000 yards rushing. And we got someone referring the White Vic, where they're calling Vanilla Vic on Arch Manning. I haven't heard that one yet. I've heard all sorts of predictions for Arch Manning, but calling him Vanilla Vic.
Elite. We shall see.
You don't think the run game is going to be elite?
I mean, I think Texas throws the ball obviously more.
That's kind of what I was talking about this show with Neal Brown coming in. He has quarterback. He has an affinity for the quarterback run. Chad Scott coming in. He's been a great run game coordinator and running backs coach at West Virginia. Both those guys are now coming from West Virginia, and they love running the ball up there. And they
better not get the golden child hurt, dude, in the QB run game.
He's a big boy. He did the QB run game this year just fine. He came in, played Tebow duty basically, and he never got banged up. He's a bigger guy than Quinn by a landslide, not a landslide, but by a little bit. A marginal amount where people like his physicality.
At the draft.
Quinn's 205 and Archer's 225, I want to say, off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, if Quinn's got a couple roll of quarters in his jock strap, maybe he hits 205. He's a skinny boy, dude.
Yeah, he does look lean out there after he leaned down for sure. But
skinny fat Quinn from 2021. There's still a little bit of skinny fat there.
You got anything else for us,
215 at the combine. That's
okay. All right, 215 is. I mean, I believe he's about 6'2.5", 6'3". He could be 215.
I mean, his legs look like an olive with 2 toothpicks sticking out of the bottom.
You got anything else for us, Gerald, tonight?
Yeah, if Cotton is in the chat, I'm still waiting, dude. Drop that Venmo. You're talking big game 2-3 weeks ago. And if you're real confident in Archie boy, drop that Venmo, Cotton. I'm just waiting. Been waiting for you. You've been very quiet since the last time we had this Austin Simmons Arch talk. Seems to have gone into hiding.
Yeah, you guys are the Cotton and Gerald villain arc continues to grow.
I don't
You
think
guys,
he wants it, dude. I don't think he wants it.
for those at home that don't know, we had a commenter when Gerald Hopkins was calling in here. Cotton is his name, and he was saying he would do a bet. They were saying, Gerald said, "Drop your Venmo." And he said, "Should I?" Or I forget what he was saying, but they were messing with each other about betting whether Austin Simmons, for those who don't know, is the quarterback of Ole Miss, or Arch Manning will have more passing touchdowns and passing yards. So he's making a callback to a couple weeks ago. If you know, you know. Hopefully, Cotton will come back out for another show, and you guys can hash that out and maybe make an Arch Manning Austin Simmons bet.
Maybe his buddies will let him know I called him out for next week.
Oh, yeah, well, we shall see. Well, thanks for calling in as always, Gerald. Appreciate you.
I'll do him.
All right, we've got one last caller. If any of you guys want to call in last minute, feel free. We're about to wrap this thing up. My mom's making pork chops. I got to hurry and get downstairs. That's one of the benefits of living at home still, is when you broadcast from your little brother's room at your parents' house, I get to walk out the studio and I get a home-cooked meal. Those bigwigs over at ESPN in Bristol, they don't get that. Maybe their wives, I don't know. But mom's cooking. You can't beat mom's cooking, guys. That's one of the benefits of broadcasting at home. Is also I'm wearing shorts underneath this, but you'll never know. All right, last caller. We've got Mike Cohen. Mike Cohen, how you doing today, sir? You're on the horn.
I'm doing great. I was just wondering, what is the deal with this Gerald persona? He's from Mississippi. Seems real obsessed with Texas football. I mean, I don't know if he's mad that Arch Manning snaked the inbred boys in Mississippi, but it seems like there's another one too. I think I don't get the obsession. I didn't know we had another little brother. I thought we had Oklahoma and Texas A&M. But I guess Mississippi is, even though we haven't played in like 12 years or something like that, they seem to be real obsessed with Texas.
Yeah, we've got Gerald Hopkins is calling back in. He wants to come on the show again. Mike, would you want to talk to Gerald Hopkins?
I don't think that I should stoop to that level. Seems like a real childish individual. So,
not going to talk to him. Yeah, we do have a weird amount of Ole Miss fans calling in here. I think we're going to start a new rivalry for whenever they play again. I think, hey, Texas and Mississippi, they're pretty close. Sounds like it'd be a good old SEC rivalry brewing. And they did, like you said, they did play in the non-conference a couple times. So I think it's fun. I think it's probably a part of the bigger storyline of Texas joining the SEC, where a lot of these fans like to hate on Austin, like to hate on Texas as kind of the other child, this new, rich kid type of persona that Austin has sort of adopted. And Kirby Smart called it out when he came into Austin, right? They're kind of looking at him like you'd look at USC. So I think it's just a general sort of hatred coming from the rest of the SEC, but it's fun. It's fun to have Ole Miss fans calling. When the season comes around, I'd hope to get some Georgia fans, some A&M fans. Would love to see other fan bases calling. I think it just makes for entertaining radio.
Yeah, man. The last time I think Texas was in Oxford, I think David Ash threw about 7 touchdowns on them. So, it's what do you expect? That was when Texas was down. It didn't matter that Hugh Freeze was, using hookers to get his players.
Whoa. All right. We don't need to talk about Hugh Freeze's scandal. But you got anything else for us, Mike?
No, that was all I had to say. Yeah, thanks for having me on. You
just wanted to start a beef with Rebel Nation?
I'm just wondering what the obsession is. I guess they're mad about, or I guess this is what it was like for Tennessee fans back in the day when Peyton, scorned Ole Miss for.
So you think it's an envy for Arch Manning not going back where Archie was?
Yeah, in 2020, what was it, 2022 or 2021? They did that whole they rolled out the red carpet for Arch Manning. Remember, they had Manning in the end zone when he was visiting, and it didn't even give him the time of day, I guess. And
I forgot about that when they put Manning in the end, but that was for Eli Manning's jersey retirement, if I'm correct. I can't remember. Might have to bring back in Gerald Hopkins to ask about that. Gerald, when you guys put on Manning in the end zone, what was that for again?
Eli's number 10 retirement.
Okay, that is what I thought. But was Arch Manning there that day?
I mean, if you ask any Ole Miss fan with their head screwed on straight, he wasn't going to go to Ole Miss. Archie told Arch to go to Texas. That's how that works. So there's not really an obsession with Arch leaving. I mean, it was
I
up to
guess
Georgia and Texas.
Mike and other Texas fans' question might be: what do you dislike Texas? What is your affiliation with Texas? I believe you said you living in Texas now. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I mean, trying to figure it out, and then you get your brand new Oklahoma comes in, and then you get the boys from Austin with the purple hair and the skirts that they all of them are wearing around.
You got a problem with that, Gerald?
You got a problem with inbreds? There's nothing you
All
can do
right,
about that.
guys.
He pointed it
Guys,
out. I mean,
let's keep it football
it's a conscious
related.
decision to dye your hair and
All right. You got anything football related that you guys have to hash out?
I mean, the last time Ole Miss went into DKR, they beat them by 21.
I think they got vacated for some weird reason. I forget what it was.
It's easier to pay players with hookers than to give them Lamborghinis.
I mean, at least
let's try not to say. Let's try not to say anything about what he.
Truth here.
I know, but I mean, I gotta be honest. I've been doing this. What is this? My 15th episode. I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
Lamborghinis left and right to these players. Yeah, you wouldn't have had to pull a Hugh Freeze, and to think that nothing like that goes on anywhere else in the country, you're ludicrous.
Coach Sarkisian runs a clean program, Gerald.
That's hilarious.
Does he not? I mean, NIL's within the confines
you got
of the rules.
Culture guys like Jahdae Barron and Mike Taff at Texas. What do you have at Ole Miss? Jackson Dart with his puka necklace.
I mean, Jackson Dart had a better year than Quinn did.
Quinn Ewers was better than Jackson Dart on one leg.
That's not even true. I mean, it's not even close.
You guys are too funny. I mean, this is just building up for whenever Ole Miss and Texas finally play. I want to see that happen. If we're in the same conference, you got to be playing.
With T Sweats swerving around in a Hellcat.
All right. Let's try and steer away from personal attacks. No straw man argument.
Not a personal attack. He's claiming they run a tight program there.
Listen. I think anybody who
has a good PR team.
Anybody with 2 eyes and 2 ears that's from this area, you say you're from this area now, you've seen the change from, Strong, even Mac Brown to Strong to Herman to now. It does seem like he's running a tight ship. With the way those kids talk.
Lane Kiffin's running a loosey-goosey program.
That guys
are
losing
to Kentucky at home.
To the locker room anymore. Let's not forget, dude. Stark lost to Kansas at home in his first year.
Yes, but that was not his players.
One of the worst losses in your program's history.
Well, I mean, losing to Kentucky at home, and I'm a Kentucky fan, as I've made very clear.
Has won one big game in his entire career.
What big game has Lane Kiffin
won?
When
has Ole Miss beat Alabama? When has Lane beat Bama?
We beat Georgia. When did y'all beat Georgia? You had 2 tries this year, couldn't do it.
Okay, they beat
Bama's the dynasty. No one cares about Georgia.
They walked into Alabama.
They walked into Bryant City.
Worst team in probably 15 years.
They made the Final Four.
Yeah, they lost on the last play in the Rose Bowl. They could have been in the national championship.
Worst team in the last 15 years.
That was still a very good Bama team. They won the SEC. Ole Miss can't do that.
I mean, again, Bama's Nick Saban's one of his weaker teams that he has had.
But Ole Miss's big year was this year, and they blew it against Kentucky and Georgia.
Again,
they beat Georgia
and an LSU.
Your coach has one big win ever.
Well, all right, let's think. Sark has won the Big 12 championship. He's beaten. All right, what are his big wins? Beating A&M,
Alabama,
beating Alabama.
Not a big win. Kiffin's undefeated against A&M.
Beating Arizona State and Clemson.
That was a big win. Beating Arizona State is a big win. Beating Clemson's a big win.
Yeah, beating the team picked last in the Big 12 is a massive win. You're right.
All right, well, we know that Arizona State
was 13 away from Scattaboo spanking you, single-handedly spanking you.
I mean,
he was an elite player, arguably the best running back in the country.
All right, let's see where he gets drafted in the draft.
Probably like a
second round. He's gonna be a great NFL player, Gerald. I'm starting to question your knowledge.
I think Gerald's being discriminatory.
I mean,
no, he's being a hater. Gerald's been mad today. Gerald's been mad today. He called in. He was hating on everyone from DJ Lagway to Drew Allar. He's been mad today. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, Drew Allar's not that good.
I mean, I'll agree with you there, but you're saying this guy sucks, that guy sucks. Now you're crapping on Stark.
Okay,
Who's even Ole
let me
Miss's
ask this:
quarterback
do you
now?
think
Ben
Scatteroo
Simmons?
is going to have longer than a 6-year career in the NFL?
Probably, yeah. He's a receiving back as well.
You think so?
That was a really good team that Texas ran into.
He's pretty damn good.
That's not a monumental win.
That's a big win. They won the Peach Bowl. That was, Sark's
Well,
first
those are
bowl.
what is Lane's second or third best win?
Georgia.
That's his best win. By far.
Y'all just brought up A&M. Kiffin's undefeated.
I wouldn't. I don't. A&M's not even a big win.
Okay, well, the host of the show seems to agree that it was.
I think that was a big one, top 5, because you walked into College Station. That's the first time in 13 years they played, and they knocked them out.
Beating Allen Bowman's a bigger deal than beating A&M.
Yeah, I mean, no shit.
Oh, hey, language, Gerald. Try not to curse on here. Got to stay monetized.
What do you expect?
Monetized. Huh?
Some Mississippi boy.
Oh, you're saying he's got a potty mouth?
They got no class over there.
Yeah, dude. Half of the people on your campus cross-dress.
All right, hey, all right, guys. Let's keep it football related. You got Gerald. You're starting.
What? You're letting this guy Mike take shots, and then we're on. This seems like state-controlled media right here again.
I mean, it's got Texas in the name. If I went over and called on an Ole Miss show, I think you know how that I would be received, right?
Yeah, you'd be received with some blue and red-blooded patriots.
Hey, I mean, that is Ole Miss's colors, right?
Yeah, it courses through their veins. They're patriots.
All right, well,
Austin doesn't have an identity anymore.
Gerald, where did you,
capital of the world?
Gerald, where did you say you live in Texas now?
I mean, not that far away. Comanche, Texas. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's probably 2 hours from Austin.
So have you become a Longhorn fan at all, or no?
No.
Well,
it's just fun to poke at the new purple-haired newbie to the conference.
Yeah, hey, well, I appreciate you guys calling in. That was fun. Might have to have you guys banter back and forth in the future if you're interested.
Have fun, liberals.
Mike, you got any last thoughts? All right, Mike is gone too. That was very fun. Always fun when Gerald Hopkins calls in. If you guys haven't listened, he is the resident Ole Miss fan who calls in almost every week, it seems. So that was fun, guys. Love the SEC. There's no better place than the SEC, especially the fan bases. Nobody cares more. It really does just mean more. And it is awesome that Texas has come in here and, went to the SEC title game and now is favored to win it next year. So it'll be fun when you check off the boxes of, hey, we played Tennessee for the first time. We played Ole Miss for the first time. Whoever, right? The first time is going to be a big deal playing Texas because we know a lot of people want to beat Texas, and you see how fired up some of the opposing fans get about Texas football. But, guys, make sure you're subscribing to Inside Texas. Like the video. Click out right now and see if you're subscribed. Like, if it says subscribe, click on it so it says subscribed in the past tense. Would appreciate that. Share it with your friends. Like the video, guys. It helps us out. And if you keep subscribing, maybe one day I'll be broadcasting from a studio and not my little brother's room in an egg chair with my mom's laptop and this ring-a-dink setup. I will definitely have to show you guys someday what my setup is. It's pretty goofy, but it gets the job done, right? And we had a fun show. It's about the content, not the flash. But yeah, please subscribe, please share, and make sure to follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. I run all the social media at Inside Texas. I post some good stuff on there, make good graphics for you guys. If you like the graphics on the show, a lot of them come from me on our social media. We post some good stuff, good videos. So yeah, follow Inside Texas, guys. Support the page if you like what we're doing. And please like and share. If you're watching on Twitter, come over to YouTube and subscribe. Does us a solid. We can keep doing these videos for free. It doesn't do anything to you. Make your friends subscribe. Grab your girlfriend's phone, your mom's phone. Click subscribe. It won't do anything. Just helps us guys keep creating good free content for you guys and pushing out great Texas football information and maybe baseball in the spring. But thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of On the Horn. Program update. I will be gone all next week. There will be no show Tuesday or Thursday. But I will be back stronger than ever. in a couple of weeks. That'll be after Selection Sunday. So maybe Texas basketball will be in the tournament, and then we'll have to talk about them. Even if you guys don't want to, I'll hold your feet to the coals, and we will talk about Texas basketball, baby. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always. And God bless. Have a great weekend. Have a good spring break if you do celebrate spring break still. I'm a year out of college. I'm still going to celebrate it this year. We'll see how long this goes. Maybe into my mid-20s we'll keep doing spring breaks. But I'm taking a spring break this year. I will be gone all next week. But thank you as always. I will be back and better than ever. More tanned, looking on air ready. Even though we're not in a studio, we'll act like we're in a studio, guys. Maybe I'm not wearing a full suit and I'm in shorts. Or maybe boxers, who knows? But yeah, thanks as always, guys, for watching. Like, subscribe. God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend and peace.